Welcome back to another episode of Out Loud Geek, where we discuss news and views about pop culture, science fiction, fantasy, food, cooking, the outdoors, and more. Are you sure you want to hear this news, folks? Are you absolutely sure? Well, I guess there's no hiding the truth, though Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb are both trying to do exactly that, because it turns out that the audience really doesn't like Jada Pinkett-Smith's Netflix fakecumentary entitled Queen Cleopatra. I'm calling it a fakecumentary because that's exactly what it is, a fake documentary being falsely presented as actual history, which it most definitely is not. And guess what? The audience isn't buying the unsubstantiated claims of Jada Pinkett-Smith and Tina Garavi that Queen Cleopatra VII of ancient Egypt was black. She wasn't, because all of the historical and archaeological evidence indicates that Cleopatra was white Macedonian Greek. And it's not like people haven't heard of Cleopatra. She's probably the most known queen of ancient Egypt that ever lived. Now, while Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb have both completely concealed what the audience scores are for Jada Pinkett-Smith's fake show on both of their websites, Metacritic is showing its audience scores and reviews. And the current average audience score on Metacritic is so low, I don't think that I have ever seen a score as low as that on Metacritic before. And that average audience score is 0.2. Yes, you heard me right, 0.2. With the exception of one good score on Metacritic, practically all of the individual audience scores are 0. Why? Because audiences don't want to see an actual historical figure whose Macedonian Greek lineage is well known and well documented being falsely depicted as having been black. As I talked about in a video that I released on April 25th, there are absolutely no records that either Jada Pinkett-Smith or Tina Garavi ever studied Egyptian history or Egyptology. Their backgrounds are in acting and painting, and Tina Garavi wrote an article in Variety in which she admitted to going to a fortune teller prior to getting hired to direct Pinkett-Smith's fakecumentary. She also admitted in that same article that she wrote that the entire reason for depicting Cleopatra as black was as a political act. In other words, this show has nothing to do with being historically accurate. And the only reason why Jada Pinkett-Smith is even doing this show, which is part of a series that she entitled African Queens, is to push today's Hollywood woke identity politics. This show has absolutely nothing to do with the truth. And how was the first season of her show rated on Rotten Tomatoes? The first season is about an African queen named Njinga, and its unhidden audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is 25%, while its unhidden IMDb score is 3.5. So even when Jada Pinkett-Smith is attempting to talk about an actual black African queen, her show is absolutely awful. And Rotten Tomatoes is even hiding the written reviews for the first season, which just goes to show how desperate Jada Pinkett-Smith and Netflix are to hide the truth. But let's take a look at the reviews posted on Metacritic for Jada Pinkett-Smith's and Tina Garavi's garbage show, Queen Cleopatra. This first one is from a user named Davey420, who rated the show with a 0 and wrote, "Cleopatra was not black. She was a Greek woman. Stop blackwashing history." A user named Reckel, who also gave the show a rating of 0, wrote, "Right now, you can Google Black African Queens and get an amazing number of results. Why then to culturally appropriate an Egyptian ruler of Greek/Macedonian descent? Apparently, no one at Netflix knows what a search engine is. It gets worse. Somehow this quote-unquote documentary has nothing to do with the real Cleopatra, one of the most well-known figures in history. You can't watch it and say, quote, okay, the skin color is wrong, but her life was cool, unquote, because almost nothing shown is about the real Cleopatra. Quote, the pyramids were built by aliens, unquote, is more credible than this farce because, well, who knows? But here we know, and from multiple sources from her age. The result is an astounding mess, and I still have to mention the irritating, patronizing tone both in the quote, documentary, unquote, and in the discourse surrounding it. When you offend whole nations, you should pause and think, not go on a stage with a megaphone, quote unquote, explaining to the plebes. That was a fantastic review. Ray Mob, who rated the show with a 0, wrote, "Pure woke garbage from Netflix as usual. Top feminism, race swapping, bad acting, showing men as despicable creatures, and so on. What can we expect from a production from Jada Pinkett-Smith? May the wrath of Egyptian old gods take care of this crap." I love that review. Huffing Jankum, who also rated the show with a 0, wrote, "It's not a historical docudrama. It's an anachronistic 21st century soap opera with a few paid academic talking heads to give it a thin veneer of respectability. What little information we get about Cleopatra has more to do with truthiness and feelings than anything resembling historical fact. Jada Pinkett-Smith's show has absolutely nothing to do with historical accuracy. The only thing that's important in today's Hollywood is to push as much woke identity politics into everything as possible. I call this show a fakecumentary because that's what it is. A poorly written fake history of one of the most famous and well-known queens in the history of the world. Identity politics in Hollywood is out of control, which is why I talked about what's happening with the Academy Awards in my previous video. No film can be nominated for Best Picture now unless it meets a large quota of identity politics rules. Identity politics isn't about being honest or making good art. It's about shoving an agenda down everyone's throats to the point where even history itself is being rewritten for the sole purpose of pushing the agenda. I'll read one last review. Egyptian Roots, who also gave it a score of 0, wrote, "Shame on you, taking the Egyptian history and twisting it to your own benefits. It's outrageous and ridiculous. This is a disgrace, and you should be ashamed of stealing a country's history and gaining profits out of false, fake evidence. Jada, you're a disappointment." And Egyptians are extremely upset about this fakecumentary daring to blackwash the last independent ruler of ancient Egypt, the Macedonian Greek Queen Cleopatra VII. Right now, Netflix is so desperate to keep everyone from knowing just how many people absolutely hate Jada Pinkett-Smith's fakecumentary Queen Cleopatra that they must be paying a huge bundle of money to Rotten Tomatoes and Amazon, which owns IMDb, to keep the actual audience scores and reviews from appearing at all. And it's not like these sites haven't manipulated audience scores in the past. We all know that Amazon kept negative reviews about their reprehensible bastardization of J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth entitled The Lord of the Rings of Power from appearing on IMDb for more than a week after the show premiered. And Rotten Tomatoes has deliberately manipulated audience scores for specific movies in the past also. So the fact that Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb are completely hiding the audience scores may be due to there being no good reviews to begin with. They may all be bad. This is what Netflix deserves for attempting to rewrite history for the sake of today's woke Hollywood identity politics. And I hope that it's costing them millions of dollars to pay those two websites to hide the truth. Thanks for watching today, and a huge thanks to everyone who has subscribed to our channel. We appreciate your support. If you enjoyed this video, please press the like button, and please feel free to share a comment. If you'd like to see more of our videos in the future and help support this channel, please press the red subscribe button, and please press the bell to receive notifications for new content. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter by clicking on the links in the description. Until next time, this is Out Loud Geek.